Biff, I think I'll do capital report before I get to John. Thank you.
walk? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
Update the look in your home with new flooring and get 11% off everything now at Menards. Update your floors with Designer's Image self-adhesive vinyl tile. The Silver Series offers an elegant look, is water-resistant, and easy to install. They're just 69 cents each after 11% rebate. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through April 3rd. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
You know, there's always that one team that ruins your bracket, and that's why you should bet the tournament on FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook app, because your first bet is risk-free. It doesn't matter whether you're betting a #1 seed team or a Cinderella team. New users get up to $1,000 back in site credit if your first bet doesn't win. And FanDuel has odds on all the action, games day and night, an easy-to-use app, multiple deposits, fast withdrawals, always-on promotions, and more. And FanDuel wants to make you a millionaire. They're giving away $1 million to a lucky bettor. New and existing users get an additional shot at the payout every day you bet the 20. So if you want a shot at becoming a millionaire or even a thousandaire, download FanDuel Sportsbook, use my name and row in the promo code box. You must be 21 or older, present in Pennsylvania or West Virginia. No purchase necessary. Restrictions apply for the $1 million drawing. Risk-free offer for first online real money wager only. Site credit non-withdrawable. Expires in 14 days. Restrictions do apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-GAMBLER.net.
From the Watchdog, here is your local weather forecast for your Friday. Sunny and breezy with wind gusts up to 25 miles per hour and a high of 43. Overnight, clear skies and cold with a low of 21. And for your Saturday, expect mostly sunny skies with a high of 53. And that's your local weather forecast from the Watchdog.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Let's go! Time to start the day! Time to get up!
Maybe we should just focus on getting ready for the show.
When is it? When's the big show?
It's Good Friday.
Oh, don't say Friday.
I'll take you to church. It's Good Friday.
I'm ready for the show.
It'll be a good day. Good Friday. Good Friday.
Today is Good Friday.
So, are you having a good Friday?
Good morning. It's Good Friday.
It's showtime.
A fresh take on local, regional, and national news. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
It is up to 26 degrees, so the temperature is rising. We started at 21 earlier, so 26 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. There's a little wind blowing around, so it feels like 18 degrees. 26 at the airport, 26 at my home studios here in Elm Grove, and 26 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. In Charleston, we're coming down to the home stretch. A number of different issues are still being dealt with. The key big things are the tax plan, still 3 competing tax plans going on. The governor's plan, which has been around for a while. The House plan, which has been approved by the House, which is essentially a revenue reduction of $150 million per year, every year over whatever the revenue of the previous year was, and no counterbalancing tax increases nor any specifics on budget cuts as part of the House plan. And then the Senate plan, which is kind of a little bit like the governor's plan, but it increases the sales tax even higher than the governor's plan does, returns the food tax, and so on. It's going to be big debates over the next couple of days in Charleston as they head towards the conclusion. McCabe and I might kick that around in a minute or two, and I'll talk about it with Hoppy coming up on Statewide Talk Line as well. Disagreement over exactly how to write a broadband bill. That's one of the things I thought was going to be a clear and easy thing to do this year in Charleston, and then the supermajority took us off on some just absolutely bizarre tangents. Now, they do have a broadband bill pending in the Senate, but there's some disagreement on whether or not it should focus on providing service to the underserved or be more provider-centric and helping providers be able to provide more service. Meanwhile, the Intermediate Court, approved by the state Senate yesterday, they concurred with House changes to the bill, but many people think that the House changes make it an even less useful bill, and it's not even a bill that is necessarily needed, as far as I can tell. Before I get to John, let's get to Jeff Jenkins and take a look at some of the things happening in Charleston with our Capitol Report.
This is the Metro News Capital Report, brought to you by AARP West Virginia, your ally for real possibilities in the Mountain State. Today's report in 60 seconds.
AARP is your ally for real possibilities in the Mountain State. A wise friend and fierce
Alrighty. How are we doing on spots? If I only get one break in at half past, is that going to be enough? If not, I'll work it out. All right, why don't we take a break right after the Capitol Report, and then we'll get to John. You don't even send it back to me, just take a break. Yep, that works. Thanks.
here at West Liberty University.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them, just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
West Alexander, the Watchdog is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Hoppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. West Alexander trusts the Watchdog.
Here's a look at the Ohio Valley local news week in review with newspaper editor John McCabe and Howard Monroe.
26 degrees, 9:20 in the morning on the Watchdog Morning Show. Some statewide news, some local news, all to talk about. Mr. McCabe is here with us. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Howard.
Any big Easter plans? What do you guys do? Do you have Easter traditions, or what are you going to do this year?
Well, this has been, much like last year. Typically we go to visit my parents, and of course last year, I don't think we did last year. I'm trying to remember now. It's a good question, because last year, I'm going to say we probably didn't last year because it was when everything first started to shut down. But we are going down to Morgantown on Sunday and spending the afternoon there and, coming home. That's all.
That sounds good.
Good. How about you?
We normally have the family over to our house, or the family's always gotten together over the years, but last year, of course, we did nothing, just Nancy and I and Teddy and Jason and Natalie, because we all were together during COVID. This year, everybody in the family has been vaccinated. I think we could get together, but there's still, the whole family is still too big to get together without having any distance between us. So I think, again, this year, what we're going to do is just have a small dinner here, and as we did last year, being the patriarch of the family, we're buying dinner for each of the family, the rest of our kids at their own homes, and let them have a day off of cooking, but we'll have some food delivered to them. So and we'll have a little Easter egg hunt, I think, in the front yard as the weather is good, if not in the house. We colored 40 Easter eggs yesterday because Teddy decided he wanted 40.
40.
I don't know where the number came from. Although Biff thinks somehow he probably osmosis, Lent is 40 days. I don't know. So we had 40 Easter eggs that we colored, and we'll put them out and have a little fun with the little kids. So that's it. It will be a little bit more than last year, but not what is traditionally been the case.
Now, for those 40 Easter eggs, those were all boiled and colored the old-fashioned way, not just like with a magic marker or anything? Did you do them?
No, we color them. They all know it's the coloring is the fun part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I like coloring eggs.
My wife was pointing out yesterday, even during the period of time when we had nobody here, if the kids had grown up and had gone off their own ways and had not come back home and there was no grandkids, Nancy and I still did Easter egg coloring, Easter Sunday or Easter Saturday. It's a tradition. And I get a great kick out of it. So, in fact, I told Teddy if you want to do 40 more today, we could do 40 more today. And because I like eggs anyway, so hard-boiled eggs are good to have around the house. So
yeah,
I can eat them. John, let's talk about a couple of things. Let's start with these tax plans down in Charleston real quick. You want to make a guess? What's going to happen? We have 3 competing plans. They're all different. Governor and the Senate's plan a little bit more similar. House plan radically different.
Right.
What's your best guess as to what's going to happen here? You want to take a wild guess at it?
Well, I think during the session, we've got a week left, 8 days essentially. I don't, you know how the Ohio River, whenever we have a lot of rain or a flood, it gets really muddy. That's kind of what it's like in Charleston right now with the tax plans. It's really muddy right now with 3 separate proposals floating around, and I thought the Tax Foundation did a really interesting analysis of the 3, and the pros and cons, and so I'd be really surprised. I just don't think there's enough time, and quite frankly, I don't know if I want them to rush through this significant of a piece of legislation in 7 or 8 days. That where everyone's starting from such polar opposites, and in a sense at least. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a special session at some point this year, maybe soon, maybe it's right after, to address tax reform. And I might be okay with that. I mean, I think, I've been, as we've talked, I've been a strong advocate that we've got to try something different. All we do every time a tax proposal comes up is poo-poo them, and that includes, the newspapers around the state as well, because sometimes they're not very well thought out, or they're not, they shift the burden, unproportionally onto lower income families, when you're talking sales tax. But I think, we've got an opportunity to do something, and I would like to see it done well, and right now, I think if we try to push something through in 7 or 8 days, we could easily find ourselves in 2 years back down here repealing all of these tax reforms because they blew up in our faces. And I think that's what we can't afford to have happen. Both from a standpoint of money and a standpoint of public confidence in our lawmakers.
And there just isn't enough detailed information out there in terms of the impact of these plans. I mean, there is some, don't get me wrong, but I think it requires a lot more assessment. And I think you and I have talked about this before. I know Brad McElhenney and I have on several occasions. There's so many working parts of these plans. Each of them require a lot of analysis. Just does lowering the income tax really do what the claim is it will do? Does raising the sales tax, just that part of it, requires some real serious analysis. And what's the sweet spot for raising it if you're going to? Bringing the food tax back is a huge deal, since we get rid of, each of these in and of themselves require a lot of attention to detail. Yeah. Let alone trying to merge them all together and then come up with some compromise with the Senate or the House version of it. I think they will die of their own weight before the end of the session.
But I think that's probably pretty clear, right? Again, I just don't think there's enough time to do something that is meaningful enough, and there's just not enough time to parse through 3 separate plans. Now, I am hearing a little more, from Charleston, from some folks down there who think the Senate plan was put out there just to make the governor's plan look better, to kind of sweeten the pot on why the governor's plan is actually the good plan, since the Senate plan would, raise sales tax to 8.5% and reinstitute the food tax.
7.9, yeah.
Yeah, and the governor's doesn't do the food tax, but I think we need a little better understanding. I think lawmakers need a better understanding on exactly how this can work. Again, strong advocate that we got to do something. We can't just continue to, much like we talk with the city women, we just can't continue to do the same things over and over and expect people to come or expect, perceptions or financial projections to change. But we can't do something, on the other end. You don't want to do something that you're back fixing just in a year or two.
Exactly. And I just think it's too complicated. Although I have to say, I don't think I'm quite cynical enough to think it was done just to make the governor's plan look good. But I got to say this. I spent the first, whatever it was, 4 weeks of the session arguing strenuously against the governor's plan. And both of these other plans do make the governor's plan look better. I mean, of the 3, I guess I'm down on the side of the governor. So it does raise his plan up. If there's going to be a plan, his looks to be the most reasonable. The House plan offering virtually no offsetting revenue increases, or any suggestions on where cuts would be made, is just is a disastrous plan in my opinion. But again, I don't like the governor's plan, but of the three right now, that's kind of where I'm at. John, there's one other trend in Charleston. I think you're going to agree with me on this. There's one other trend that we really have seen this year from this legislature, which has been an effort to pull all control as much as possible into the state, taking it away from municipalities and from cities and so on. There's this belief that the state standard ought to be the standard for everybody. That is a trend that is really worrying to me.
Well, it seems to be, there's no doubt. We've editorialized on it a number of times. It is extremely concerning, to me, and should be to every West Virginian. But really, if you think about it, Howard, this is the trend right now in our country. We're seeing it with the federalization of elections. Elections are supposed to be state-operated events, not regulated by the federal government. But we are at the point now where, again, government is just continuing to try to take a bigger role in controlling everything. And by government, we're talking big government. We're talking the federal. We're talking here in West Virginia, the state. In Ohio, you had lawmakers do some of the same things they did here in West Virginia. Strip control away from local health departments, strip any emergency powers away from the governor, and centralize those. In Ohio with the General Assembly. So it really, I'm not sure. I don't know if this is just a natural progression with a republic where that has allowed, and the citizens have allowed the government to just take over so much of our lives. But it really is concerning that decisions that affect you, decisions that affect me, as we move forward, will primarily be made in Charleston, or the goal of some is to have those decisions made in Charleston or to be made in Washington, as opposed to being made here in Wheeling or, in Ohio County. And that, to me, that's not how, at least in West Virginia's case, where you have a supermajority of conservative Republicans, so-called conservative Republicans, those aren't the principles of conservatism. And that's concerning as well. But, this is just I look at this part of a bigger trend that's, at least, in a few states that we pay attention to, is happening in both places.
It's interesting, though, that in Charleston, they're trying to take control away from both those above them and below them. Mm-hmm, yeah. They're trying to take control of school boards, trying to take control of municipalities. Cities cannot put into effect any standards any less stringent than what the state has. But there are efforts being made in Charleston to say above the federal law and the city law. It's a bad trend. It's just a very bad trend. Whether you're a conservative or a liberal, I think it's a very bad trend.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it's, again, both ends. Both ends of the spectrum, because I do really have a lot of concerns with what's happening in Washington, and it has been happening, but it's accelerating now. Where as taxpayers, we don't know what's best for ourselves. That's the message that mostly comes out of governments anymore, and that's not how our system was supposed to be set up. But
I'm not going to totally agree with you. I actually think that. There is some overreach and I'm going to get in trouble for this. Biffy, they're going to come and take my card away. They're taking the liberal card away, right?
It's only a matter of time before it happens.
Because I think there is some overreach in HR 1, SB 1 at the federal level, which is the federal election reform bill. I think overall it's a good idea, but I think where they've made a mistake is it's one thing to set some guidelines. It's something else to try to basically take control away from the states. Mm-hmm. I mean, elections still should be controlled by states. I can see some general principles that maybe ought to apply everywhere. I can buy that, but I think there's some parts of that federal election law that go a little bit overboard too. So I'm actually not going to disagree with you, but. Well, John, I think you're losing part of your conservative card, and I'm losing part of my liberal card.
Well, I think part of the problem is we both have common sense cards, and that's what seems to be in really short supply these days.
I think you're right.
I have a question for you. I want you to maybe try to give me an honest answer if you could. So, do you think, so when you go to the bank and you want to take money out, you have to show your ID, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you go most places and do something, you have to show an ID. Right?
Actually, I don't, because I take it out of the ATM and I still have to have a card. I don't show ID. But I get where you're going with
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the push that, proving that we have to show ID for almost everything we do, and yet to vote, that's a racist, suggestion, and I just don't understand it.
I'll tell you why. First of all, there's a big difference between all of the other examples that we get when we have this kind of conversation. Going to the bank, going to get a
fishing license,
driver's fishing license.
That's a difference. So that's more important than voting.
No, it's not. But voting is a constitutional right. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And it is a constitutional right that elevates it to a different level.
So in the Constitution,
and the reality is that
show ID to vote, right? I mean, come on.
Voting is a constitutional right that should not be infringed on. And the truth of the matter is, God, I hate to go with white privilege or whatever phrase you want to use, because I don't think it's racist, but John, people like you and I go through life with a wallet full of IDs. There are lots of folks who just plain don't, and they're not easy to get if you don't have one. Believe me, I know. I've known folks who don't have who don't have a driver's license, have a hard time getting an ID. So it does become an impediment to voting, and voting is a constitutional right, and I think that is a big difference. So I'm answering your question honestly and directly. I think there's a big difference between going to the bank or going to get a fishing license and going to vote, and I think that it can be a real serious stumbling block for certain categories of people. Doesn't bother me. When we have my IDs in my wallet, there you go. Look at it. I have no problem with that. But
I think you just got your liberal card back, Howard. You answered that correctly.
I feel better. John, let's take a break and get into some local stories. The changeover at WVU Medicine Wheeling Hospital has happened. A story that you and I talk about every week. This Greg Stewart story seems to be getting more and more bizarre. Am I missing something? We're going to talk about that when we come back as well. The Watchdog Morning Show is underway. Ohio Valley Newsweek in review. John McCabe is with me. Let's check some headlines right now from Metro News.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Donut dollies? Yeah. It is promo, yeah. Well, at least he's thinking about us.
Women's Final Four. South Carolina will face Stanford. Arizona will meet UConn. Hey, be safe out there. Please be considerate of others. Check on the elderly. I'm Bill DeFabio on sports. We are the Watchdog.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
We may be enjoying April Fool's Day this week, but student and staff health and safety is no joke. We must all stay vigilant about masking, distancing, and sanitizing in our schools and in the community to help keep school buildings open and our kids learning in person. We all have a responsibility to put education first.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association. Want to buy your own home but think you can't afford it? What if you got down payment assistance or a discounted interest rate just for being a recent college grad, teacher, nurse, or veteran? The Ohio Housing Finance Agency offers this and more, and our programs are always available for eligible Ohioans, big city, small town, and everywhere in between. Find out if you qualify at myohiohome.org. That's myohiohome.org. Home ownership, ready when you are.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection.
Does this current crisis leave you wondering how to pay your bills? Well, a lot of people are struggling right now. I'm attorney Tom McIntyre. Call me today to schedule your telephone or video conference meeting, and I will send you a copy of my new book about bankruptcy, When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Call 877-456-4155. Together, we will figure out what to do now and what to do when this is over. We will get through this together.
In a hurry and need to see a doctor? The Woodsdale Health Center and Walk-In Clinic is located across from Little Caesars on National Road. Open 7 to 7 Monday through Friday. Patients can receive primary care, treatment of minor illnesses and injuries, wellness visits and physicals. There's also a lab draw station open from 8 to noon weekdays. A division of Wheeling Hospital, the Woodsdale Health Center is led by family physician Dr. Michael Wilson. Call 304-234-1971. They'll take good care of you.
It's time we put a stop to a few things. Right now, the D.C. establishment has all the power. The For the People Act will stop that. Billionaires buying West Virginia's elections? The For the People Act will stop that. Politicians and their families getting rich while we pay for it? Yep. The For the People Act will stop that too. Senator Manchin, you've always had West Virginia's back. Don't stop now. Stop corruption in its tracks and support the For the People Act, paid for by Represent Us. It's time we put a stop to a few things.
No, that's the first time I heard that spot. That's who's paying for it. U.S., I got it, yeah, okay. No, I never heard that before. Yeah, that's the first time I heard it, was just now.
Cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time.
Here you go. Thanks, Mike. Doing a great job. All right, 2 ice cold Coors Lights.
That's the coldest beer I've ever had.
Hey, they don't call it the world's most refreshing beer for nothing.
Okay, be honest with me. Do you really have the Rocky Mountains in your beer cooler?
You don't believe it? Check it out.
Man, that's pretty amazing.
I know, right? I can't believe it myself sometimes. I mean, this cooler is only 3 feet wide.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
Follow us on Facebook for the latest news, show updates, podcasts, alerts, and live video streams from the Valley's only network dedicated to local, community-driven talk radio, The Watchdog.
If you miss a part of the show or want to listen again, you can find conversations, interviews, and rants on our podcasts at Apple Podcasts or on WatchdogNetwork.com. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
We have a lot of local stuff I want to get into, but I just read a quick text here going back to our discussion about voter ID, John. Tom says, owning a gun is a constitutional right as well, and you need an ID for that and a background check. Okay, that's a point well made, Tom. I appreciate that. I don't want to get into it now, but that actually is a point well made. John McCabe is here with me. We're talking about some of the issues now around the Ohio Valley. John, let me jump into this Greg Stewart story. You and I have talked about this almost every week for a while, and it should be a minor story. We've said this last week. It should have been just an issue of a little mistake was made and could have been corrected. Greg Stewart, county administrator, says, I want to finish out my career as just exclusively managing the Highlands. Mm-hmm. So they write a contract for him to do that, and then somehow the contract gets changed, and they take a vote, and it was not done quite properly, and they had to void that vote, and they couldn't, for some reason, they couldn't automatically take a second vote. But now, at least according to the story I read in your paper this week, now Greg's out of a gig right now.
Yeah, so he is, without a contract. So when they first started reworking his contract, they kept him working under the terms of the one that was essentially illegally agreed to it in December. But at this past meeting, as we talked last week, they voided that contract, and we found out early in the week that he is not on the job. Which I guess since he's no longer officially no longer an employee with that contract being nullified, there may be liability issues, etc., from him being there. But what kind of surprised me, and as we talked last week, they nullified the contract last week. They could have had a new one there. They could have posted it beforehand that they were going to vote on it. They didn't. And person, what's the backstory here? Is there something deeper going on? When we found out he wasn't on the job, that kind of adds to that. And now, I'm really curious to see. They've got another not even week now until this contract is supposed to be back before be done, so they can start to move on it. And will this contract even have his name on it? I don't know. Or will it have greater controls? And then I go to Greg has had a storied career with Ohio County and nearly single-handedly built that development up there. And I don't want to give him too much credit, but I think he deserves a whole lot of credit for the inner workings that make a development like that come together.
The vision may have come from commissioners. The vision may have come from commissioners and development authority officials, but the implementation really came from Greg.
Yeah, and again, Greg is almost as an individual. He didn't have a big development staff or anything else. And I wonder at what point he says, if you don't have this, if this is the level of respect you have for me, I'm just going to retire. I'm done. And maybe he's not ready to be there yet. Maybe he feels he still has work to do at the Highlands and things he wants to get done. But at some point it starts to get, even though even though it's maybe not personal, at some point it's got to start to feel personal. Because again, he's dedicated a lot of time to that.
It's reached the point where I'm starting to hear from, you and I have said several times, this is the kind of thing that's more inside baseball. You and I talk about it, and we talk about it in this show, but the general public doesn't. I'm starting to hear from people in the general public on, what's this Greg Stewart story? Something is weird about this.
Yes.
And I'm not saying this, but I think you danced around it. Maybe there really is an effort to get him to sort of drive him out. I don't know whom or why, but it's possible. And he can't go back to his old job because they've already hired a new county administrator.
Right. This week they offered the job to Randy Russell, and he's accepted. And so, yeah, I don't know exactly. Wish I had a better understanding. I think I have a little bit of an understanding, but I wish I had a fuller understanding of what was going on. And because right now we can, speculate and speculate, I think, pretty well given what's been going on. But I don't know if the goal is to. I don't know if the goal is to put, to make him a county employee again, which is what they initially wanted to do. I don't know if the goal is to, if they're just now working on, some measurables in a contract, which is, maybe what I could kind of hope is the best case scenario that, the commissioners wanted to make sure that, they had targets for Greg to hit, and it was, and had the job description spelled out well and exactly what they expected out of him. But yeah, it's and much like you, this is one of those stories I think most people didn't pay a lot of attention to in December and January, and maybe even into February. But as we hit March, and this is still kind of hanging out there, it starts. You do start to wonder.
Well, again, I in the early stages of this, I accepted that just some procedural screw-ups happen. Okay, intentionally, unintentionally, I get that. I'm willing to accept that. But then the further down the road it's gone, the more I'm beginning to think there's something at work here that I don't understand, and it concerns me. John, 30 seconds quickly, because I do have to run on. But Mike Maroney, the charges against Mike Maroney for whatever it was, having sex with
solicitation,
yeah, were dropped. But Maroney is still pretty unhappy, right?
Yes, he's made it very clear that he, is maybe willing to legally coerce answers out of Glendale and the Marshall County Prosecutor's Office as to why that case, misdemeanor charge dragged on for 19 months. Let's put aside everything he was accused of. There's absolutely no reason why a misdemeanor charge that's handled in magistrate court should go on for 19 months until it's resolved. I think that's something everyone should agree on. But I think it's going to be very interesting if it gets to that fight where there's civil lawsuits filed. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
John, I appreciate your time today. As always, had to run very quickly today. Unfortunately, a lot of stuff to do, but we'll talk again soon, and have yourself a happy Easter.
Hey, same to you, Howard. Take care.
All right, thanks a lot. John McCabe from the local newspapers. Let's swing to the another news outlet here in the Upper Ohio Valley, the Big 7 WTRF-TV, and Bob Westfall is there on a Friday morning, a good Friday morning. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Howard. How are you today?
I'm cold, too cold outside. I want it to warm up. I don't like this cold weather.
I didn't even wear a coat this morning. What are you talking about?
Well,
anyway.
I thought that says more about you than me, but okay.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. So what is the proper greeting for Good Friday?
What is that? That's a great question. I don't know. I don't think you say Happy Good Friday. That's not right.
Yeah. So anyway.
So I don't know. It's one of those days. How do you greet someone appropriately? I don't have an answer for that.
I figured you covered the event, so I thought you might know.
Hey, now, stop it. Just stop it. You're no spring chicken either. Just want to point that out.
Nobody knows that.
I know that. What are you working on today? What are you working on today, old man?
You take it out. We're going to talk to Howard Gamble. UK variant has appeared in Ohio County. We're going to talk to him about what the specifics are on that. DK Wright is working on that story today, as you know. That continues to be an issue. We hear A little bit of everything when it comes to the variants. A little more worried than some. CDC is very worried about it, but we'll see how that goes. But we're going to talk about that being here in Ohio County. And we'll have that today, 5 and 6. Also, a couple story I like out of Marshall County. A young lady named Gara's dream. She was having infusions at WVU for dealing with cancer, and she wants to help the other kids, help other local kids that have to go through that. So we're going to go down, talk to her, talk to her parents about what she's doing and how she wants to help. But to me, it's kind of reminiscent of Michael's meeting. So I really love this story. Right. So we're going to have that. A couple other things we're working on. Hurricane season beginning. We're going to see what its effect can be on West Virginia and the Northern Panhandle. Obviously, as you know, some of these tend to come up the Mississippi and Ohio Valley, and we experience flooding, we experience rain, things like that. So we're going to talk to the National Weather Service. Aaron is going to talk to them today about how that's going to affect our area, how that could affect our area. So we'll have that today as well. Also going to preview town of Philadelphia. They've got a major water shutdown tomorrow morning. We're going to preview that. Want to get the word out for that. Areas affected. We'll have that today at 5 and 6 as well. Obviously, we're going to follow up on Major League Baseball. Kind of a down day today. A lot of the cold teams are taking the day off just because of the weather. We'll have that. And then, of course, it's going to be gorgeous this weekend. So Zach will have that at noon, and Dr. Dave will have it this evening. So a little bit, again, a little bit of everything from us today. So those are the big things.
And it looks like Easter Sunday is going to turn out to be an okay Sunday. A cold day today, even if you didn't wear a jacket. But it's going to be a pretty good weekend, I think. And in particular, Easter Sunday should be good for, Easter egg hunts or whatever people want to do.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nice weekend. So I think it's the weekend to break out the grilling utensils and have a little barbecue out on the deck.
There you go. People can check out all of the news at noon, 5, 6, 10, 11. 5:30 is the statewide show for statewide stories. And always, not only during the day, but during the weekend as well. Check things out at WTRF.com and on your Facebook page, where there's always all of the breaking local news, but also Johnny Lynch puts up some interesting stuff there on that Facebook, or on the website that's fun. I guess fun reading is the word to use. Interesting reading, let's put it that way. So,
yeah.
Have yourself a good weekend, Bob, and we'll talk again next week.
All right, guys. Talk to you next week. Have a good Easter.
All right. You too. Thanks a lot. Bob Westfall from the Big 7, WTRF TV. A couple of quick things I want to remind you of. Again, online auction is underway for Frio and Stack. The bidding closes on Monday for this online auction. 400 plus lots of antiques, gold, costume jewelry, silver coins. It is the estate of auctioneer Robert Smith that's going on the auction block. It is an internet-only auction. Online-only auction. Find out more by going to freeauction.com, then look up the upcoming events, and you can see all of the items that they're going to have on the auction block. And if you want to bid, click Bid Now, and you can find out how to do that. It's an online auction only. The bidding closes on Monday, so check things out on that. Also want to remind you real quick that tomorrow is the Easter Food Basket giveaway at the North Wheeling Dream Center, put on by our friend Reverend Cummings at his church. So once again, it'll be a drive-through event this year, but it's been very popular in the past couple of years as they had the drive-through things. Last year or a couple of years ago, people came and started lining up at night and stuff. Reverend Cummings says, don't do that. You don't want to do that. There's plenty of food, plenty of stuff for everybody. It begins officially at 11 o'clock tomorrow at the Dream Center up in North Wheeling. So check that out. And you all have yourself just a great holiday weekend, Biffy. Enjoy the, after today, what's going to be good weather and sunshine for Easter, and have yourself a good one, my friend.
Now you do the same and have fun playing with Teddy.
Yeah, he's off school today, so he'll be here any minute now, and then we'll start to, let's see, we're making origami figures. We may color some more eggs. Definitely going to play some Mario on the video games. and he's going to want to go outside, and I'm going to say it's too cold for Granddad, and he's going to go, Granddad, you could put a coat on. And so that'll be our game plan. But for me, it's time to scoot on out of here. Now, I am going to join Hoppy coming up in the next hour or so to talk about the tax proposal in West Virginia. So Hoppy Kirchhoff is coming up next at 10:06, statewide talk line. I will be with him either the tail end of the first hour or the beginning of the second hour if you want to catch that. In the meantime, good Lord willing, creeks don't rise. Bat phone doesn't ring. Don't get impeached. Don't retire. Ticker keeps on ticking. And Teddy says it's all right. Go back to work on Monday, Granddad. I'll be back Monday, 7 o'clock. Are you back with me, Biffy?
Back Monday, ready to start another week.
We're going to keep on doing it until we get it right.
That could be a long time.
Indeed.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Jobs were added last month.
All right, Biffy, good show. I feel like I have poor John waiting an awful lot, but more spots today than I thought we would have for the beginning of the. Well, of course, we had that new one. Yeah, it's okay. I just, I try to plan for it, but I guess if I'd realized how many spots we had, I probably wouldn't have done the capital report first, but that's right. It worked out. From a programming point of view, it sounded good. I just worry about having John hanging on the phone so long, but we got all the critical stuff in. All right, I have nothing scheduled for Monday. I'll probably get something put together over the weekend from the legislature. I don't know what I'm going to do when the legislature's over. But there'll be plenty of stuff to talk about probably. So Monday I got a little public service interview on Monday, but no big deal. Other than that, I'll figure something out this weekend. Have a good weekend. Have a good holiday, Biffy. Eat well and, find an egg or two or something. Yeah, that always makes a holiday good, right? All right, I'll talk to you Monday if I don't talk to you before. If you need me, I'm around. Just give me a call. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.
You check your Google search results regularly? You should. People often get their first impression of you or your business online. Negative comments on the internet can impact your life and your livelihood. Take control of your online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com. It may reveal negative posts from an ex-employee, upset patient or client, news article, legal issue, or even exposed personal information right there in your Google search results. Uncover what's lurking on the internet about you with reputationdefender.com's patented scan and get your free reputation report card. Or for immediate assistance with your reputation, call 800-401-6681. Our cutting-edge technology helps make your Google search results look their best. Call 800-401-6681. That's 800-401-6681. 800-401-6681. Or take the free scan at reputationdefender.com.
New details about the federal investigation into Florida's Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz.
Federal investigators are looking into whether Congressman Gaetz and an associate in his home state provided cash or other things of value